2006 BMW 325i. This car came in for the brake job, and now as soon as the guy left it on my driveway, it would not crank. He had this problem before, but it was kind of intermittent, and after maybe 10-15 minutes he would just wait and he would restart again. And so right now we have a no crank, no start. See, good. No crank, but I can actually hear my fuel pump running. And so right now I'm checking my main power cable on a starter itself, and I have my voltmeter there, and I have it's on volt DC. I got my ground lead on the ground, and the starter is actually located right under a intake manifold, and I'm using this long wire that I made. This is my piercing probe, and I'm actually just kind of barely connected to that main cable. Let's see if I can get a shot. I can see that there's my probe just kind of sitting on that main cable. So right now I have a 12 volts. I have an extra battery actually hooked up in my jumper cables, and when the voltage drops down, but you know, you still have no crank. So I have a sufficient power supply to my starter. The problem is I can't get these stupid headlights to turn off. You know, as soon as I had my key these headlights are on, and they're draining my battery now at almost 12 volts now. Okay, so let's check the ground to ground voltage drop. I'm checking ground to ground voltage drop. I got my cable on a battery, my negative cable still on the ground here, and I have my piercing probe just laying on top of the starter right there. See if you guys can see that or not. See that? So I'm just laying my piercing probe on top of the starter, and we have 11 volts. We are dropping voltage on a ground side of the circuit. Now let's go ahead and let's put it on the block itself. I'm just going to lay down on the block right there. Let's see if you guys can see. I'm just kind of putting this is my probe here, okay? I'm just going to lay down on top of the block. Alright, so let's check that again. Now we got no voltage drop on the block, but the starter, that's kind of weird. Go ahead and put the clamp right in here. All right, so let's do a voltage ground to ground from the body to the block. No drop. Okay. Alright, well, I mean, starter is getting the ground from the block, but the block, it's not getting does not have a voltage drop. So the only thing that could happen is that the starter is loose, maybe it's not giving a good connection with the block, or maybe something is corroded in between the starter and the block, because nothing else could be. I definitely have the ground side issue there. Okay, I got the control wire back probed, and I absolutely love this. This is such a simple design. I made a video how to make one of these. It's just an awesome instrument. And so now I got my ground lead back to the ground, so we should get the power at the control wire when we press the start button. Alright, let's see what happens now. Okay, so we got a control from the which is good. So we do have a control power voltage and the control wire. Okay, so pretty much we have a bad starter. Look at this. I mean, it was intermittent. I don't even have a clue how this thing would ever even crank the engine, period. And look at all this. I mean, it's just, everything is loose, everything's falling apart. Crazy. But I got the remanufacture unit. I'm just in the process of putting back together, and it's kind of a little frustrating project. I mean, you got to pull the intake, and luckily I didn't have to pull it all the way out, but it's kind of not very pleasant way to replace the starter. And has two two up front to they're aluminum, and you got to be careful when you take these bolts. You should replace them every time. I just don't have replacement bolts, but they are in a very kind of unpleasant position right up, on top of the bell housing. But I end up using a wrench, a supply wrench. I don't use this very often, but when you need them, you really need these wrenches. I mean, there you go, nice. So you fit right in. So I'll show you later on when I put this back in, where they're located. But not easy thing to replace. Yes, got one bolt here, and then another one. The short one is here. Short one is here, and the longer one goes there. But the problem is you can't get the cannot get the ratchet on. You got to use the wrench. At least I couldn't get a ratchet on. And so anyhow, I used this plying wrench, and I was able to luckily I was able to loosen it up. I thought it was going to be tighter than that, but anyhow, I'm going to get this button up and fix it up.